When we talk about Ukraine, we're talking about the need for supplies, reinforcements, people, and it looks like the Ukrainian military has welcomed a lot of foreign military into their legion with open arms. However, what we have to disclose here is they said combat experience. Now, as you're going to see with this guy right here, he probably is not going to be the most mobile in combat, but it looks like he made his way over to Ukraine, and Task and Purpose has done an article on his journey over there. It says, Hieu, an Army veteran who deployed to Afghanistan in 2012, came to Ukraine as a volunteer but decided to leave nearly 2 weeks later. They say after spending 13 hours hiking into enemy territory back to retrieve the body of a Georgian soldier who had been killed near Irpin, Ukraine, U.S. Army veteran Hieu knew that this war was over. Not long after recovering the fallen soldier, Lay resigned from the Ukraine's Legion of International Volunteers, and he says, my team was very supportive since they saw how deeply affected I was by recovering his body. He told Task and Purpose, physically, I feel fine, but I also feel like I have these invisible wounds on my soul. I will be fair, there are a lot of people that are joking on him about this quote because he was there for 2 weeks. And allegedly, he is a combat veteran from what they've claimed where he actually went to Afghanistan. So this seems kind of weird, but it will kind of make sense too. On Monday evening, Lay was en route to Western Ukraine along with wounded comrades and other international volunteers who had resigned. He was leaving a war that he had just joined nearly two weeks ago, and he says, I do feel embarrassed to be leaving so soon after arriving, but after you ever see anything so horrible and heartbreaking that you can't continue, it was like that for me. To be fair, it does look like Ukraine has started to discharge people that are like Lay here, where they were not totally qualified to do this, but I want to give you that backstory because he has a lot of this posted on his LinkedIn. It says here he was an M1 armor crewman from 2010 July to 2014 over in Georgia. Then he moved on to counterintelligence special agent over at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He did 6 years and 9 months, got out. Looks like he did some contracting work as well for about 6 months there, and then went to BAE Systems, which is another government contract where he actually did some Afghanistan stuff over there for a little over 2 years. Also looking at some of his background, he has a story from 2017 talking about how he became a coder over in Afghanistan, where he learned to do this and was working on it, and he's from the Bay Area, and so obviously this influenced him as being part of the tech mecca essentially, and made him want to get into this. That might paint a little bit of your perception as to why he might leave after 2 weeks, but what I found more interesting is what he said about the Ukrainian forces, and on top of that, the people that have come to help over in Ukraine as well, as he kind of bashes them. He says they live the day high on amphetamines, testosterone, steroids, and who knows what other drugs they've smuggled into the war zone. They posted on Facebook. They essentially do whatever they want, and the Ukrainian military officers either allow it or are powerless to stop it. Lay, I think that's because they're having bombardment on top of them on a regular basis. Obviously, you want people that are competent, and the use of these types of substances has not been a secret, as we've seen even with Navy SEALs. Back in 2017, there was an entire debacle of them trying to push out these issues as it was more of a status quo, knowing that some of these substances could make these people perform better. I want you to comment down below if you think that that is a relevant reason for people to take stuff like this, especially as these are the people that are fighting to win wars, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. They found a soldier, and Lay wrote the man's name, passport number, and date of death on a piece of cardboard they put with the body. They had to drag the body back to friendly lines, which included carrying him past Ukrainian forces along improvised plank bridges. And then Lay says, that was actually the hardest part, watching the look on everyone's face as the body of our fallen making its way through the friendly forces, Lay wrote on Facebook. Then they looked me in the eye, his blood staining my uniform, while I helped carry him the last part. Nothing was said between us, but the sentiment was profound and unexplainable. As we made it up the hill to the top of the bridge, the ambulance met us, and we put him into a body bag and saluted the ambulance as it drove off. Following this, it looks like Lay says he was weeping for about 10 minutes, which some of his counterparts, part of the Ukrainian military and the Legion, understood. But, you know, looking at this perspective here, he does say he survived a bunch of artillery, does say he survived a bunch of bombardment, so it's not like he wasn't totally non-action from what he's saying, but it looks like because he quit so early and it looks like he didn't know what he's getting into, a lot of people are coming after him because they're like, what did you expect? This is a real war. This is where, like, these people have suffered casualties that are already beyond what the U.S. suffered in Afghanistan and Iraq put together in that 2-decade period, where essentially he probably didn't know anyone that passed away or kind of understanding this new type of warfare. George Huddleston says he was heartbroken that the green bean or McDonald's wasn't established in country. Don Mills says 19K, not a rear mother or a pogue in a combat environment not seen at this scale since World War II. He tried. Most will never serve in a capacity. A symptom of society become parasitic. Victoria Berner says, all you doubters just stop. What are you doing to help? You know, I agree. It's great to have people that want to help, but having the capability and the qualifications and all these things that are important, the physical stamina, the perseverance to do this is important. And, you know, I would say somebody that did serve over Afghanistan would have some kind of context or understanding of this a little bit more than the average human being that probably has never seen this type of warfare, including myself. There's a point where you can actually be a hindrance to the operations that are occurring versus being a help. Yes, he did bring a body out, and yes, that is heroic and honorable. But I also look at the people that now are spending their efforts not towards fighting a war, but now processing people out of Ukraine to get them out, and now having to put more resources or efforts into vetting these people before they actually come into the country to actually do some kind of assistance, because they realize this could be more of a hindrance. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys think that this is a hindrance, what do you think about his journey and things that he's been through? And do you think he was qualified to actually go into country with his experience over in Afghanistan? As always, if you guys like this story or other stories, you can always let me know if you have one over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.